Hello, everyone, and welcome to No Code North and the Northern Showcase. Thank you for spending the next hour with us. I'm Penny Olorenshaw, a Webflow developer from Trenton, Ontario, and I handle communications for No Code North.
And I'm Jeremy LaRue, a writer, director turned Webflow low-code, no-code developer from Vancouver. On the No Code North team, I'm the resident automations guy and the runner of the streams.
Hi, I'm Maggie Monceau, and I'm a Webflow developer based in Toronto with a background in film and television. In our No Code North group, I take care of our designs and our gather space.
Our mission at No Code North is twofold. First, to build a community of Canadian Webflowers and no-code enthusiasts, and secondly, to showcase that Canadian talent to the rest of the world. We meet Fridays at noon Eastern in the Lodge, our gather space, and once a month we host the Northern Showcase here on our YouTube channel.
And let's see who's in the chat. I see we have Gabe. Hello, Gabe. Gabe's in Toronto and been chatting up a lot of Webflowers lately. It's great to see you with us. And that's all I'm seeing so far. Say hi in the chat if you're here.
I see some people.
There we are. Hello. Hi, Pat. Hi, Brendan. Excellent. Good to have the Ontario representation here. All right, excellent. So if you have questions for Keith, please put them in the chat and we'll either ask them during the interview or at the end.
All right, so on today's Northern Showcase, we have the pleasure of welcoming Keith Armstrong. Hailing from Edmonton, Alberta, Keith is the founder of Flow Sparrow, a Webflow development agency that specializes in helping startups build and manage marketing websites using a monthly subscription model. Keith is also an active member of the Webflow community and hosts the Webflow Show on Twitter Spaces with Grace Walker and Melissa Mendez. Please help us welcome Keith. Hey, Keith.
Hey!
How's
it going, Frank? Thank you guys for having me. This is so awesome.
Oh, we're excited to have you with us. I think we all have seen you around the community a lot, but we don't know you all that well. And considering you're Canadian, we thought it was time we fixed that.
Yeah, perfect. I'm into it. Let's do it.
So is the thaw happening in Edmonton yet, or is it still frigid cold?
It's actually been really good this year. Normally it's like extremely cold. Yeah, I'm sure you guys might have popped in here once or twice in your lives, but yeah, it can get really cold, like -40. But I think I'm kind of built for it. Like I grew up here, so like it's good for me. I feel like 0 is like shorts weather. I run hot, so it's good.
So we've been getting pictures from people as kind of like a way to introduce people. And you sent this one here, and I thought it was I had to use it. You sent me bridge pictures and some other stuff, but
yeah.
I think this captures the kind of your spirit really well. Because you, with all of our interactions, I mean, I met you in person before the Webflow Conf here in Vancouver last, I guess, November and stuff like that. And yeah, you just seem like as far as your energy, it's like fun. And you didn't have any skateboarding pictures. So
yeah.
Are you still doing skateboarding or?
A little bit, yeah. I kind of put on a little bit of a belly during COVID, so like it's kind of a little harder to do it. But yeah, I still like to do it. It's my favorite form of like physical activity for sure. I like to go out and just just skate around skate parks usually, hang out with friends and stuff. It was a big part of my life when I was younger, so it has a special place in my heart for sure.
Yeah, we've all. I think we've all kind of put on the little bit of the COVID weight. And I don't know. As an older person, it's harder to get rid of too. So it's just kind of like, how did that get there? And yeah, I can go. But you've also, I guess you are talking online about like getting in more healthy habits as well, right? To like because you were feeling kind of. Yeah,
I think maybe around this time last year, middle of last year, I was just doing a lot of things work-wise, but I was also just like not taking care of myself, eating terribly. I didn't have a gym schedule or anything like that, and I was really in my house, so it started to wear on me a little bit, and I kind of hit a little bit of a burnout. So I really wanted to make some changes. It's really up and down for me still. It's really hard to keep a consistent, healthy lifestyle, but I do have a gym membership, and I go downtown, and it's kind of near my co-working space, so it's a good little setup there. But yeah, working on it still. I think it's kind of like a never-ending thing that you just have to try to figure out.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
tough.
So I guess we'll get into the main interview here, and
Let's do it.
Alrighty. I think what people kind of don't know about you, and I don't know, is like what's Keith's origin story? Like what does that look like? I mean, I got a little bit of it from Emily in the Great Design Lead podcast and stuff like that, and but I think, you know, how did you get started? What did that look like for you? Your journey to, you know, getting to where you are right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a wacky one, and it goes a bunch of different directions, but I'll try to keep it as brief as I can. Yeah, so I grew up in like Fort Saskatchewan, which is a city just outside Edmonton. And everybody I grew up with, we all did trades and stuff. It's what everybody does kind of coming out of high school. So I went into a trade, went to college. It was like HVAC refrigeration mechanic, and I started working in it. I really didn't like it at all. It just wasn't for me. I was always kind of like computer nerdy a little bit, and I always like made websites or did little things like graphic design and stuff like that just for fun since I was like very young. So I wanted to find a career in that, but it was kind of a difficult transition. So I moved to the Edmonton. I started kind of connecting with some people here, throwing like music events and stuff like that. And with that, I started doing a lot of social media promotion for the company. I started doing graphic design, like doing show posters. I would make like little promo videos and stuff like that to promote the events. And that kind of got me into the creative space. And I was like, I really like this. I want to kind of like continue this. So, you know, I quit the trade job. I just couldn't do it anymore. It was really tough on me mentally because I just can't. It wasn't driving with me too well. So I went and got a warehouse job, like just like we made like signs for the fronts of buildings. And I just listened to podcasts and books and stuff like that about creativity, business, all that stuff. And it got me kind of into this world of creative work, I would say. So I was doing it for a while. And then I just kind of took a nosedive into freelance. It wasn't smart of me at all. Like I didn't have any money saved, or I didn't have anything planned. Thankfully, rent was kind of cheap because I lived with a few friends. But yeah, I just nosedived into it. And yeah, I just started working, doing a few things like graphic design for shows. And I was still doing a lot of that stuff. But then I kind of landed a job at a marketing agency in the States that was remote. And that's when I really started doing a lot of serious work where I was dealing with bigger clients. I had to, hit deadlines and stuff like that. And that there's a lot of pressure, and I didn't really know what I was doing. The company didn't really like teach me a lot, so I had to kind of figure it out as I was going. So yeah, I really dove like nose like right into that, and yeah, that was good until I got let go from that, and then I started figuring out Webflow and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I know you were saying that music's always kind of been a big part of your life, right? Like, so
Totally.
for these shows and stuff like that, you're a DJ as well as promoting. Were you promoting kind of similar like shows, or were you just kind of promoting like your friends and the stuff they were doing? Like, what that look like?
Yeah, basically, what it was is like when I lived in Fort Saskatchewan, whatever, I would always DJ a little bit. I just had a pair of decks. I just liked electronic music a lot. So I was just playing around with it. I think I was probably the only one I knew in my friend group that had it. I just was really interested in it. So I was like, okay, I kind of want to do this a little bit more seriously. Like all the events are in Edmonton, so I kind of moved there to do a little bit of that. And then I got together with a group of people, and basically what we do is just promote electronic music events in the city. And it was really fun. I had a blast, and I did that for like 3 to 4 years. And basically, yeah, like we would just DJ. I would DJ shows. My friends would DJ shows. It was a group of like 12, 15 of us or something. And we put on some pretty large events, I would say, like, 500 plus people in some instances, which was really exciting. I also got the opportunity to play some like music festivals and stuff around Edmonton, which was really awesome. But it was all thanks to that group and the people that I was working with there, and they're the best. Love them. They're still doing it, but I couldn't do it anymore. It was too hectic.
Yeah, when you started with the graphic design, was that like self-taught, or like did you go to school for that, or take anything in high school for that, or anything like that?
No, I think I got started in like a communications class in high school a little bit. Like there was like, I don't even know if it was Photoshop. It was some other tool back in the early 2000s. But yeah, I kind of just started playing around with it there, but then I just took it further, and I always kind of built little things or design stuff just for fun at home. I think one of my first projects was like a music blog website where I would just share music that I was liking and stuff. And I built that on like WordPress. Like a really long time ago, or mid 2000s, something like that. And yeah, I was just always interested, so I just tinkered and got used to the Adobe suite and stuff like that, and it was a good time.
Yeah, no, I relate to that a lot, because a lot of the stuff that I've done has been out of like for promotion when I was doing acting and different stuff like that. Like that's how I started like I was always making my own website for marketing and stuff like that. And you have to like, not that I'm a great designer, but like you have to like make stuff to like promote different things you're doing and things like that. So it's
Totally.
an interest. I totally relate to like almost the invention is or necessity is the mother of invention kind of thing. Like, and what I really enjoyed from like listening to yours and Emily's conversation was like how you're just kind of like just jump in. Like you don't, at least it feels like you don't have any fear of like any kind of like failing or like it's just like you're just gonna go for it, and like life's too short to like sit on the sidelines kind of thing if there's something you want to go after.
Totally. I definitely feel that. And I actually kind of think that comes from skateboarding a little bit. Because in that sport, you kind of like, if you're like jumping off a set of stairs or something, you have to like go for it. And you have to like fully commit or you're going to hurt yourself. And I also think it gives you some type of tenacity because you're trying things over and over and over and over again until you land it and then you complete it and you're like, yeah, I did it. But it takes like, it builds up a thicker skin, I think. And I think maybe that helped me in this, but I don't know. I've just never really cared what anybody thought. So I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go into it. And thankfully it worked out, I think.
Yeah, no, I think it appears to be working out really well for you. It's interesting that you were talking, because you did talk about like kind of growing up in Fort Saskatchewan and then doing like the HVAC stuff and like not liking it, and also being different from the people that you were working with, and so that also having quite a large impact on like your enjoyment of your job and everything else like that, because there wasn't people to relate to. So it's kind of what led you down the path of like, I enjoy doing this more.
Yeah,
and it's
totally.
like maybe there's not a ton of, I can't quite see where the cash is coming from yet, but it's like I like this work and I like doing this with these people kind of thing.
Totally. That's like I think when I was working in the trades, like I would always get made fun of for doing like DJing or like graphic design or whatever. I would just be called like a nerd or kind of weirdo. Like it was really like kind of rough Alberta culture, trade culture a little bit. And that just never sat well with me. Like there's a lot of just prejudice and not nice people that I was working with at the time. I'm sure there's a lot of situations where other people like find a good group that they can work with, but I think the people I was working with specifically, I was just like, I don't want any part of this. This is not for me. So I was just like, okay, I gotta try something else, and I'm really thankful I did.
Yeah, no, it's it makes a difference, right? I mean, you said something on the Great Design Lead about like it's not worth it to do something you hate doing. Like you don't want to spend time doing that. So, you can you might switch things up because you're like, I don't like this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And it's kind of a neat kind of thing to have. I mean, have you found it ever being like a drawback to like, have you been like jumped to something too quickly or anything like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think with a lot of this type of stuff, like making these switches or just kind of going your own path, like there's a lot of external pressures that are telling you like, hey, this is a bad idea. Like this trade job, I was making really good money. Like it was really good money. I bought myself a nice truck. I was doing really well. And then I just took like a complete left turn into probably zero money. Doing graphic design. And of course my parents and like all my friends and everybody around me is just like, no, this isn't going to work. And then, yeah, I thankfully figured it out, but it took a long time. And during that time, I was kind of just really broke. Like I didn't really have money to do anything. Like I had to room with people. I couldn't afford that truck anymore. Like I got like repossessed because I couldn't pay my bills because I wanted to do creative stuff. Like that's how like deep I kind of dove in there, and it wasn't smart in a lot of ways. And tacked up some debt and stuff like that. But regardless, like I'm still happy I did it because just my day, like you spend 8 hours of your day at work. Like I want it to be enjoyable or something that I'm somewhat okay with. I think I got really lucky doing doing what I'm doing now. But I would have been okay with just doing something mediocre, graphic design at a local agency or something. Like I'm just, yeah, I couldn't do that world anymore, for sure.
So did you just start so you liked the electronic music, and so like what led to like starting to DJ, to think like I can do this or I want to do that? Did you just like go, I want to make this kind of music?
Yeah, like I kind of just nosedive in. I also just met some cool people, friends of mine who were kind of like moving to the city to do the same. Actually, my co-founder in Flow Sparrow, Brett, was one of the first people I moved in with in Edmonton. And we were both really interested in electronic music. That's where I know actually my other co-founder, Omar, who we're all kind of pretty interested in music and grew up in the Edmonton electronic music scene, I would say. So that's where we know each other. And then, yeah, we were all just kind of like very interested in it and just wanted to pursue it and play shows. And that was really all I was thinking about at that time. I wasn't really thinking about a long career path. I was just like, I want to do fun stuff. And I thankfully did. And it was really fun.
What's like one of the, because I know you have probably like crazy stories from that time. Like what's one of the craziest stories of like, because I remember you saying like you were like running around with like lots of different people and like even meeting famous people and stuff like that in this scene, and
Yeah.
you know, it got into like the heavy partying and like really kind of intense kind of situation there for you. So I'm just curious, like, is there any crazy story from that time that you can share with us?
Yeah, I don't know if any crazy story kind of just comes to mind, but it was a big blur of a lot of them, I would say. And it was really fun. But yeah, so like DJs from all over the world would come to Edmonton and play shows, and we would host them and meet them and stuff like that. And it was a pretty good atmosphere. When you're hosting shows of like, 300 to like 800 people, it's kind of like a really big, there's a lot of energy. It's really fun. And of course, yeah, I'm just addicted to it. I like the creativity side of things, but I also like the energy and being around people. And that's what really drew me to it. And the music, obviously. And yeah, I would just like, I would definitely party a lot, and it was really fun. But it definitely got to a point closer to the end where I was just like, wasn't enjoying the music as much as I used to. And I was more just leaning into the partying. And I was in that stage where I was trying to like move into, doing more creative work as like a full-time profession. So it wasn't jiving well together. Like I wasn't making too much money from graphic designing posters and doing social media and stuff like that. So I really had to make a switch, turn that off, and then just really focus on doing the creative thing, because being out and about every weekend and at shows or events, it's kind of costly as well. So yeah, I was just, I was having fun, but yeah, I just needed to make a little bit of a shift.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I mean the reality is a lot of times you're just wanting to, at least I know from like when I was doing music, I did country music and stuff like that, is like you're And then even the people you're trying to help, it's like nobody really has any money to pay for like these kind of things and these services, right? You're just doing it because of the love of the music and the love of the community that you're building. And so that when you do kind of make the shift and it's like, well, I got to kind of turn this into like something that is like financially stable for myself or something. I guess that kind of shift happens, or you get really successful at doing the thing, but it almost doesn't seem like the electronic music was like the thing for you anyway. It's just like, from getting to know you a little bit, it seems like it's more like this drive to like do something creative. And like, as long as you're kind of doing something creative, then that is something that just will kind of keep working. And I completely relate to that, because I mean, I was doing music, then I went into acting, I did writing and directing, and it was like, the shifts of where I went with it didn't matter, as long as and that's where kind of going into like, even web design, web development is like, it's kind of, there's a lot of creative aspects to it. So you can find that same kind of creative joy in the work that you're doing and get paid for it.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think the arts are like a great entry point for anybody who's trying to like get into a creative space or whatever. I just kind of run into a lot of people, I feel like in the community or whatever, used to be musicians or actors or like artists of some kind, and they all kind of start by doing something like that, and they might have to design a poster just for the show because they never really had any money to pay somebody to do it, so they would just do it themselves or whatever, just to kind of help the community or whatever, and it kind of gets the ball rolling. But it kind of like opened the door for a lot of things for me. And I didn't do websites when I did that, but I was just open to everything. And I just kept trying to do things or find things that made money, and eventually landed on Webflow websites, which is where I'm at now.
And so did that like time period, like, I guess for any takeaways for like that we could share, is just like, did you learn something from like how you were approaching things and whatnot, like the not being afraid to fail, to try things or whatnot, like was there anything you picked up from that?
Yeah, I think like I would just advise anybody to just dive in and learn, whether if you need to like work a full-time job during the day and focus on your passion in the evening, that's a way to go. I would just suggest anybody do it, because I think life's too short to do something that you don't like. And I would say like definitely keep an open mind to a lot of things. Like, don't close your mind or thoughts to things because you have like preconceived notions about those career paths or what those people do and stuff like that. Like, I really try to be just extremely open and explore and try to learn things, and just be naturally curious, I think, is another great point. Is just, try to figure out how that works, like who's doing what, like how much can you charge for a website, like those are the things that kind of like caught my mind. And when I recognized that you could charge a fair bit for a website, that's why I was like, okay, let's do that.
Yeah, one thing you didn't you kind of jumped over, I was just kind of curious about, like, so you like moved to Kelowna in BC for like, was it a marketing job or something like that, for a resort or something like that?
Yeah, that was a random couple months of my life. Yeah, so like I just was freelancing or whatever and doing some stuff, and a buddy of mine was like helping open a resort in West Kelowna, and he just like called me up. He's like, "Hey, you want to come down to Kelowna?" And it was like right at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, probably shouldn't do this, but I'm just gonna get out of the city and just kind of go help. And yeah, I just went out there and spent 2 months just trying to help get them set up. But it was a complete mess. My buddy that invited me ended up getting fired or whatever, and I was just kind of out there, and I just hung out for a little while. Yeah, it was definitely like, the diving in stuff that we were talking about. Sometimes you dive in and you realize that was not the best idea. But you find that out. But it was still a fun experience. Like, I got to hang out in Kelowna. It was beautiful out there, so it was fun.
Yeah, I think
That's
Dave says here, yeah, sometimes you have to say yes to things and just dive in and learn as you go. I think that's
100%.
true, because you can't, you don't know if something's going to work out, right? I think that's a bit
Totally.
of like, I'm kind of learning a bit more about the agile mindset, but it's kind of like that, where it's like you're trying to like find what works as fast as possible so that you can switch it up. It's like the switching up. Like it's that whole old saying about like failure. It's not like a failure if you pick yourself back up again and like and go, or if you like find out something isn't working for you. Like it's the ability to like shift gears and stuff like that. And
Totally.
it's a handy thing, I think, in our business, because sometimes you'd be doing something and it'd be like, this just isn't working. And so like so I think that's a good kind of lead up into maybe Flow Sparrow and how that kind of came about. So you said like the guys you started Flow Sparrow with, they're your friends from Edmonton and back in the like scene. So you don't even know, even with the relationships that you make, like what's going to happen. Because I'm sure when you were doing music with them, you weren't like, oh yeah, we're going to start a company.
No, not even close. Yeah. No, yeah. So like they're both just good friends. They actually moved out to Vancouver, so I wasn't really talking with them that much. Well, I would go visit or whatever a little bit, but yeah, like I was just freelancing, doing Webflow stuff, and I really wanted to just make a splash. Ended up talking with them. Brett, who was working as like a product manager at a startup in Vancouver, was just like not feeling it, wanted a little bit of a change. And Omar was just helping me with some projects on the side and learning Webflow. He was like working on WordPress and stuff like that. So we just like got together on a call and we're like, okay, let's what do we want to do here? Let's try and do something. Let's figure it out. And then we kind of just started thinking about ideas. It took like a couple months. We got like some branding done and stuff like that. And I was just freelancing throughout that time. Brett was still working on his job, whatever. But then we kind of just landed on like trying to do a subscription model. We just saw a few of the design kind of ones popping up. And I think there's maybe one or two Webflow ones at the time. But I was like, hey, how does this work? Can we do this for Webflow? I really wanted to kind of get like a really focused, productized kind of service, just something that was pretty straightforward. Instead of like just starting with an agency where you're kind of trying to do too many things at once, I really wanted to hone in on one thing and just be like, okay, this is what we're selling. Because I think simplifying it helps people understand it a little bit better. You know, when people read like a landing page, it's just like super quick. They skim through it and they're like, okay, how much does this cost, whatever kind of thing. So thankfully it worked out for us. We just started out really low on the subscription side of things and worked our way up. And now we're kind of just doing a lot of more and more. And it just kind of grew over the past year and a half. And it's been a wild ride for sure.
Yeah, you started with like, was it like $900 unlimited or something when you started?
So bad. That's the worst. That was a terrible idea. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I think it helped us kind of really understand the market, or like how much people were willing to pay for stuff, and how much work you could get done within a certain period of time. Like, it just got us the ball rolling. Yeah, I actually like posted the first Flow Sparrow website at $900 a month for unlimited Webflow things into that Webflow Facebook group, and I just got destroyed. Like, there was like 20 people just being like, this is BS, like we can't be doing this, you're undercutting us or whatever. They're kind of an angry bunch over at that Facebook group. But yeah, no, I got destroyed. But I was like, okay, well, yeah, it's a little cheap, but we're learning. And we just kind of quickly, just like over maybe 2 or 3 months, we were up to like $3,000 a month. We just kind of,
well, I would think you'd probably learn pretty quick, which is like, oh my gosh, what did we just commit to kind of thing with, because were you in a position where it's like all of a sudden, like there's just no way this work can get done, and the expectation level for, I guess that's the other question, is like, what is the expectation level, or how do you set the expectation level for like, this is like, I mean, I think what are you up to now? $3,000 to $4,000 a month is.
We have a $3,000 package and a $5,000 one, so 3 and 5 at the moment.
Okay.
And we basically separate that by active task at a time, so that helps with the expectations a little bit. Like an active task is just one thing that we're working on. So say it's a page, whatever, we can change priorities based on their needs. So if they have an urgent like copy request, we'll just do that instead or whatever. But that helps us meter things a little bit, because some people might just come in and be like, hey, I want 4 landing pages and I want you to fix this nav bar and a bunch of stuff really quickly. And we kind of just set those expectations early about what that is. But with the premium, you kind of get design included, and you also get 2 active tests at a time. So it's just for startups who want to do a lot more. But in terms of expectations, like this was something that took a long time to kind of nail in. But it was just about setting it really early and speaking to it like in a way that we're just like, hey, we're kind of like a slower paced thing. It's not like we're gonna dive in like and just focus on you. Like we have other clients. We're just looking for partners who just want some stuff done, but it's not like an immediate need. And that was a big painful experience earlier in it. We would just do whatever people wanted and always, and that's caused some of the burnout I was speaking about earlier. I was just doing everything.
Yeah, because you were talking about a little bit about the burnout, and like so as far as like you kind of spread yourself too thin because of if the expectations are, I can see how somebody is like, well, I'm going to get unlimited and I'm going to get this and this and this and this. And it's like, and I want it within this month because I'm paying for the month. And like, that's what I want in the thing, as if they're the only client that you have at this, right? And it's
totally,
it must have been a kind of, I can't even imagine it at 900, because I think the higher you probably go price point wise, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're almost getting a different kind of clientele from like the people that the expectations at 900 to the expectations at 5,000.
That was the key thing we learned. So like raising your prices definitely filters out certain types of clients. And that was where we found the sweet spot. So for anybody listening, that's kind of like a really good note. It's like it's okay to charge a lot, because you get a certain level of client that doesn't care about it as much. Or you might see a meme, that meme that goes around a little bit where like a $10,000 client is like, yeah, invoice paid or whatever. And then like a $500 client is like, hey, let's meet every week. I want to do 20 things or whatever. And that's super true, especially with something like this. Like we have some clients that just kind of like retain us and don't really do a lot of tasks, but they just pay for us to have that peace of mind and stuff like that. And those are the type of clients you kind of want to go for something like this, in my opinion. It's kind of hard to get. You need to establish yourself and work your way up, I think. But when we got them, we're like, yeah, this is awesome. This is comfortable. And you know, the unlimited request thing, I think it scares a lot of people, but I don't think I really had too much of a problem with that at these higher stages. Like it kind of worked out. Some months would be a little bit crazier than others, but at the lower amounts, that's where it was really trouble. They would just be like, keep giving you tasks or whatever. And it was kind of more about the client than the amount of money I was getting, which is kind of interesting. So
Jay Delisle, if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, I'm sorry about that. But he said, how to outreach when monthly is more targeted at Webflow optimizations and maintenance as opposed to full builds, like and less builds are included as the monthly retainer rates as well. Like, I guess it's a question about how do you outreach?
Yeah. So we definitely learned this early too. Like we kind of included newer builds in the monthly management earlier, but we found that it was just an ineffective process. So like we would just be building. There was one client that we had that was like a nightmare. One of our early clients who just bought an annual like plan. It was like our first time doing annual and our last, because we don't want to be tied to somebody for that long, I think. But yeah, like they just got us to build a website over like a period of like, it was like 4 or 5 months, where they would just give us a page, trickle a page whenever they got around to it. And it just ended up being a really bad project overall, just from a structure standpoint. I really like to kind of visualize the whole thing and try to plan it, sections and stuff like that, like how I can reuse a lot of things and think about it a lot more thoroughly. But if you do it by page, it didn't work that well. But yeah, that was a bad experience. But what was I going to say? What was the original question? It was like outreach.
So yeah, it's just, I guess it's the how to outreach when monthly is more targeted Webflow optimizations
Oh,
and
right.
maintenance.
Yeah, so I could speak to outreach and how we did it. So we started by just announcing on Product Hunt, actually, which is like a aggregator of people just sharing their new products. And we just shared it on there, and that's where we got our first couple clients, which was great. But outreach ongoing has always been something that we've been trying to figure out. It's definitely a different approach than new builds. What we actually do, I'll give you guys a little secret. So we use a tool called Built With that gives you pay like maybe $400 or something, and you can get a whole huge list of everybody who uses Webflow. And then what we do is we dug into that and just found people who could probably use some help with their website, and we just started reaching out to them cold a little bit. And that was a good way for us to generate some business. Like we did a lot of cold outreach via LinkedIn or emails. But yeah, it kind of got us started, and then we kind of just leveraged that and got some referrals, and now we're kind of a little bit more comfortable and don't have to do as much cold outreach. But it's definitely a different approach to new builds, and we kind of try to separate that as much as possible nowadays. And I think, yeah, focusing on new builds is something we're looking forward to in the next little bit.
Right. And so I guess, it always comes up on, I see it on Twitter all the time, is like the div 300 and something, whatever. Are those the projects that you're getting? Like the ones that they basically need, it's not like a new website, but it needs a complete overhaul of the structure and everything else.
Totally. Yeah. This is probably the hardest part about it, I think, because the service kind of leans itself to people who don't like, there's some errors to their site. Like they want somebody, they notice the errors and they're like, okay, I want somebody to handle this. I need to hire somebody to fix this and maintain it moving forward because it obviously needs some help. So they come to somebody like us, and then we fix other people's stuff or some stuff that they did. And it's usually, it's never super clean. Like I think maybe 1 out of like 20 I've seen have like a client first nice system. Yeah, I made a tweet about this the other day, but I think there needs to be a lot more education around classes because I think some people really don't understand it, and I'd love to help in that regard. Just because I've had to deal with it so many times, and it's tough. But regardless, we do take these projects and we help them fix it up. And there's some ways that we do it. Depends how bad it is. Sometimes we might try to use their structure a little bit and work off of it. But a lot of times we just kind of build our own internal like style guide, internal like sections and stuff like that. So we kind of just follow client first, but we just do like FS section, FS container, FS whatever, and just kind of almost start from scratch in its own siloed thing. But yeah, sometimes we've had to go through and just completely rebuild it for them, and that's something we will do. Not within the monthly management, we just do a fixed price for that. But yeah, that's a tough sell sometimes. Just like, hey, I just got this website. Why do I need to rebuild it or whatever? It's like, well, somebody didn't really do the best job on developing it. But some people want to do that because they want to set a good foundation for the future. And doing that allows you to build things a lot quicker, like landing pages, new sections and stuff like that. Like being able to use Reloom components in a thing is obviously speeds things up a fair bit. So yeah, I kind of try to strive to have that set up as much as possible.
Yeah, it's interesting, like bringing in like a client first mentality or any kind of system into something that doesn't really have a clear system, because I had to do it for a client where it's just like, this is taking me so much longer than if I like basically redo these sections and structure them properly. And then now we can like go through a lot, exactly as you were saying, it goes a lot faster when you have that system in place, because then you can just repeat components and different things that you already have, and they're structured well, so they're going to work throughout the site. Because you had touched upon it, like one person, a company bringing one page at a time. It's like, that's not really the way this works. And so that's kind of interesting. Pat has a good question here. do your clients typically look at you as an extension of their team, or do you ever position yourself as a better alternative to hiring somebody in-house?
Yeah, I definitely think our clients view us as an extension of their team. We just usually connect via Slack, and we have like a task management dashboard we use as well that simplifies things for them. But I think the key selling point for us when we're talking to them is like hiring in the house for them is a lot more difficult in some cases because they have to ensure that they're filling their plate fully a lot of the time. We come in a little bit cheaper and more fractional, so it's not the end of the world if they don't have a task for them this week. It's just like not a thing that they have to think about as much. It's just like if something needs to get done, send it to them. That's cool. But yeah, I think it's a good relationship. They usually end up trusting us with a lot of things. We chat out some new things that they want to do and trust our advice. And then we like to partner with people long term. And that's kind of what I say in the sales calls. It's like I don't want to be like a 2 or 3 month date. Like I want to get married. Let's have some. Let's do a little long term thing here, because what I want to do is like actually help their site improve it over time. When they don't have tasks that they want to get done for us, we'll go in and like optimize certain things. Like we had to like when that WebP kind of conversion stuff happened, we just went through and helped all of our clients kind of switch that over and optimize all their images and stuff like that. And little things like that we can do. We always like to do, and they appreciate that because it's just a good relationship, and we work together on that.
So it goes. This question kind of fits in nicely. I'd love to know how long a client stays subscribed on average. And do you find that it sounds like because of the conversation you had before, you're finding clients that tend to stay long term with you? Like it's not a one and done kind of thing because of the way it's kind of you position yourself.
Yeah, we've had maybe like 20 to 25 clients over our lifetime for this monthly management side of things. And I think only 2 have churned just because they didn't have enough work or whatever. But the rest of them have been staying with us for a long time. Or we kind of just separated it on our end because we didn't really like the way things were going, or they were just kind of maybe yelling at us or something. There's a couple instances where we didn't really have the best clients. But that was more earlier in, Flow Sparrow's life, is we just were working with whoever would pay us. But now we're trying to be a lot more selective and thoughtful and set these expectations really early so we don't have that churn. We just want to have the long-term thing, and it adds some comfortability to us as a business. But it also makes things easier because you just kind of get to know the people, and you kind of become an extension of their team, which is something we really like.
Right. Yeah. Maggie's got a good question here. Are there like some specific types of websites that you like, no, we're not touching that, and they also don't suit themselves to the subscription model?
Yeah, I think we avoid this like new builds or full migrations or anything that are bigger. We kind of we just found a sweet spot with startups, I would say, because we tried a few other different types of clients, like industry-wise, and we just really liked working with tech people because they just kind of understand the flow of sending things back and forth and working together on things like this. So I wouldn't say it's a type of website. It's just more a type of business or a type of industry that we try to steer clear of. I think this might sound a little gross, but we do look for people who have money. It's kind of like a part of it. I want people to be able to comfortably pay $3,000 to $5,000 a month, and I think that's a good thing to look for.
Yeah, no, I think it's vital in having the people that can afford your services. I guess I know Penny was curious about what is, like you say, startups, but is there like a size that's like this is a good size for what we're doing? Like do they have their own teams in place for different things, or like how does that work?
Yeah, it's usually people who have more than 10 people headcount. like, or even closer to 50. That's like kind of a sweet spot. But most importantly, there's like a person who is owning the website relationship on their side. It's not like a founder who's just like has so many things going on. It's like usually like a marketing manager who's thinking about this, and then we could chat through different things to help, you know, sell their product or improve the flow of the website and a few things like that. So we usually look for somebody who's like, hey, they have a marketing manager that's going to be the point of contact, and that's the person we're going to be dealing with. Because we found when there's no point of contact, it's kind of like really broad and kind of mixed, a lot of mixed signals, and a lot of people asking to do different things different times, and it just doesn't jive as well. So we definitely look for that one or two kind of, or even a full marketing team that's just looking to use us as an extension.
That's a great point, because I think that it can be like, that can be something that really, you know, that key person that you're dealing with, or key two people max kind of thing, because you also can't be getting on your unlimited, you can't be getting a bunch of you know, tickets for something from a bunch of different people basically wanting different things for the same site, because I imagine that is something that it could happen if there's like too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing.
Oh, totally. Yeah. One of our larger clients is like a healthcare company who just gets us to do a lot of landing pages, like a lot of them. And there's like maybe 4 or 5 people in this marketing team, and they all just like have their own goals, because this company has like 5 brands or something. And they're all kind of just doing different things at different times, but they all just use us. So like one person will be like, hey, I need 2 landing pages. And then the next person will be like, hey, I need two landing pages as well at the same time. And there's no like coordination between them. So we usually have to meter that, but they're very welcoming to that, and they're down to work with us. So that's great.
Yeah, I guess again, it's that whole expectation thing, right?
Exactly.
If you set the expectations, I imagine that a company that's large with that large a marketing team understands that like somebody's priorities have to, you know, this is the priority for the month, or you know, these couple weeks or something like that, because
Totally.
Otherwise you can't do a bunch of different things, especially I guess if they're conflicting.
Totally.
Pat is kind of curious about where's the story behind the name Flow Sparrow. How did Flow Sparrow come about? Because it is a unique name.
Yeah, I don't know, actually. Like, I don't really have a good story for it. I think I just kind of like thought of the name, and I just saw if there was like a domain for it, and there was. So I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. I swear, yeah, like I didn't really think about it that much, but I really enjoy the name. I really like the branding that we got done for it, and yeah, it kind of just felt good. But I've been thinking a little bit, just kind of about a name change a little bit, just because I see there's a lot of like flow this, flow that, flow, like lots of flow companies. So yeah, I don't know, but I love the name, and yeah, we're running with it for the time being. But yeah.
Well, it's interesting because your company is actually one of the first ones that I know that was doing like the subscription model. Now it's kind of starting to like take off a little bit more with that, right? And so it's interesting how they, I guess, how the competition is going to affect things for you.
Yeah, I mean, I see a lot of them popping up, and I'm like really excited for everybody who is doing it. I think it's like a great business model, and I think I would encourage anybody who's kind of looking to get some clients. It's a good way to make money, and it's a good way to add some comfortability to the freelance life. Even if you're just doing it solo, it's perfect. I think for us, like we're just, you know, growing as a company. We want to do bigger and bigger projects and stuff, and yeah, it doesn't matter as much to do that anymore. Like I think a lot of people who are starting these businesses can come in a lot competitively, like on a lower price, and especially if they're doing it solo, it makes sense. But yeah, we kind of got a little bit of a team now, so we're like, you know, trying to grow a little bit, and it's hard to stay competitive on that front. So we're just trying to.
That's a good segue into like, so how big is your team now, and like where do you see Flow Sparrow, or whatever the next iteration is going to be? Like, where do you see that going?
Yeah. So yeah, I think with Flow Sparrow, I really want to dig into new builds a little bit more. like a lot more. I just have more fun with them personally, and I think another point is I just want to lean into the creativity a little bit. I think with these like subscription models, you're kind of like an order taker in a sense, and you're not really doing a lot of creative thinking. It's more like, here's a landing page, do it, and we just do it, and that's great. But I kind of would like to explore my creative side a little bit, and I think everybody at Flowsparrow would like to as well. But yeah, sorry, you mentioned how many people. It's just me, Brett, and Omar as like the full-time team members. But we have like 2 or 3 freelancers that we usually get to help with overflow and stuff like that, who are really awesome. But yeah, I think the goal for us is to continue. We still want to offer this monthly maintenance subscription thing. But I think our core focus is I just want to build new builds and specifically maybe enterprise kind of like level sites. And yeah, lean into the creativity a little bit as well.
Right. I guess, I mean, there's no reason you can't do both, right? I mean, you establish yourself as this thing over here, but you can also have another arm that's doing like new builds. So you can, because again, when you go back to like your reason for doing a lot of what you're doing is if you take too much of the creativity out, then it like stops being fun. And I mean, is that what can like lead to the burnout as well?
Totally.
Man, we've been talking for a long time, and we're in like 51 minutes here.
It's almost that time. Okay.
So many more questions. We're barely getting into it. Yeah, I'm curious because as far as like, and let's bring Maggie and Penny back.
Sure. Yeah, let's bring the gang.
I'm just curious about that, like, because as far as the creativity, it's like, is that something that you have to keep? Otherwise, you're gonna like you're not gonna want to do it anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think when Flowsparrow started, I was definitely feeling that lack of creativity. So I started making like rugs at home. I don't know if you guys might have saw on Twitter, but I used to make like rugs, just custom rugs and stuff like that, and that was like a good creative outlet for me. I always got to be doing something a little bit creative or different or weird to kind of keep me sane.
I was seeing those. Are you not doing those anymore? That was great.
Yeah, no, I ended up selling it because I had like a whole bunch of gear, and it was in this new apartment that I just recently got, and it's really loud. It's extremely loud. It's like a gun that's just like, and it's for like hours. It takes so much effort. So for the sanity of my neighbors, for the sanity of my neighbors, I had to part ways with them.
That was cool. Fun. Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, so that's what led to it, because I was wondering what led to like that, and it makes sense if it's just something you can't keep doing, but that's why it makes sense that you like need that kind of creative outlet in the work, and you need to find that in the work to kind of keep doing it. Penny and Maggie, any questions?
I was actually wondering about the kind or what you look for in a freelancer.
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Somebody who communicates really well. That's a big part of it. I think like, the skills or like how we approach things from a development perspective can be taught. But I just want somebody who's like very open, like, hey, I can't work today, or hey, I'm like kind of behind on this, or just sharing where they're at and, sharing when they've run into issues or whatever. I think communication is a big part of it. And yeah, I think I like to look for people who can do some problem solving, and are just thinking about things a fair bit, or come with solutions rather than just like, hey, I got a problem, help me, or whatever. Like, I prefer like, hey, I got a problem. Here's the 3 ways I think we could fix it, or whatever. That means a lot to me, and it usually just helps get the ball going, and it just shows that they're thinking about it and trying to help solve the problem as well.
Right. And I'm sure too, if somebody points out, something is like, this site has, this thing, maybe we never saw it, how, should I perhaps approach that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like I think that's a big part of the subscription thing, is like, we want to solve those problems before they even notice the client. So if you see something off, like, I really appreciate anybody that's working with us to be like, yeah, this footer is broken and we need to fix it, and putting a note in there. That's something I just try to do, and yeah, clients really appreciate that.
I'm sure.
And so do you have, I guess the other expectation I never asked about the whole client thing is like, do you do like a lot of custom code stuff, or like what's that level of expectation for like heavy duty animations and custom code and stuff like that? Is there that with you?
Yeah, I think when you guys asked about a question about like type of clients we avoid, I think that's one of them, where it's like really advanced like product side of Webflow, or you got a full marketplace. There's a lot of custom code and stuff like that. We usually just try to steer clear of that and focus on people who just want kind of the basics, landing pages and stuff like that, because it can get pretty complicated. I'm sure you guys all know. Just trying to do a lot of custom code stuff, and mostly just because I suck at custom code. I can't do anything. I'm so bad. Like I can build a Webflow all day, but you try to get me to write some JavaScript, and I'm having a rough time.
But so you avoid the complicated in terms of like backend and function, or the animated, like at the high animation ones, or both of them?
I think animation ones are fine, especially if it's Webflow native. But I found like we don't really run into this problem a lot. I think our service just gears it towards like startups who have a pretty basic marketing site. There might be some cool stuff going on, but it's not overly animated or super creative. It's usually pretty straightforward and not really. They have like their own product that they're linking out to and trying to sell. So that's usually who we end up working with, I think.
Right.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Any more questions?
Questions in the chat, or I think we kind of handled.
Don't see anything else. I think we've got everything.
Any last burning questions for anyone out there? This is your last call. Yeah, no, that's interesting you say that about the custom code stuff. I was wondering where the expectation level was for that, but I can see. I mean, if they're really dialed into the marketing. What about SEO and stuff like that? Do you guys handle any of that, or?
Yeah, like when we first started, I think we wanted to offer it. It was like kind of a part of our thing, but we quickly realized it's kind of hard to do that. I think with marketing agencies or startups at a certain level, they need like somebody in-house who's thinking about their content and how they're ranking and stuff like that, and how they're building that. So we just kind of focus on the technical side of things, make sure it's like dialed in. See, I tried to get the red hat just to try to match a little bit, but
what's on the hat?
I don't know. It said something about wheat. Conway wheat.
Ultra bread.
Yeah. I got it at a vintage store, kind of close by.
It's very Edmonton, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I was looking around in my closet. I was like, what do I got that's red?
I love that we've inspired that.
Yeah, I had to try. Even though
usually most guests here try to get something red and something black. Usually, it's funny.
Yeah, got a match.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Well, I think we're pretty much at the end of it. We're at the end of the hour. That went by really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Keith,
that was a quick one.
How can people find you online? What's the best way to connect with you?
Twitter, for sure. Yeah, for work, definitely flowsparrow.com. Reach out on Twitter, hit my DMs. I love to chat and like help. Like if you have any extra questions or if you see this later, just hit me up. I'm super down to be open and honest about my experience with FlowSparrow and subscription models and all that stuff. Like I never try to gatekeep anything. I'm just pretty much open book. I'm very down to help. Any other questions as well. Love to chat with people in the community.
Excellent.
Awesome. And then we can also tune in on the Webflow show on the Twitter Spaces. You're back with Grace Walker and Melissa Mendez with that now? Yeah,
next one, I'll give you guys a sneak peek. Next one is on the 28th with Mason Poe from Edgar Allan. So.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
Hey, I've got his t-shirt.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a great one. I'm very excited for that. I met him at WebflowConf, and he's just a delightful human. So very excited.
Yeah, he seems like a
Excellent.
super nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Doing some great things for the community.
Totally.
Right. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our 7th No Code Northern Showcase. We'd like to thank you all for joining us and remind you to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Visit our website. Visit our website at nocodenorth.webflow.io and sign up for our mailing list to receive all of our latest updates. We have a great email, by the way. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and join us on Fridays in the Lodge, which is our cool gather space. Our Lodge Hangouts are open to everyone. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey!